Good, a- good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because this is the internet is worldwide and time zones are a thing. Welcome to the stream, everybody. And could I get a wee audio check in the chat, please? I'm going to say some hellos. Miss Emma G. Yes, now we're here at the right time. I shall get on to that momentarily. Ragnar Orange Bar, good to have you here. I'm going to talk about you very quickly in a minute or two. He also got Linda Hunter from Down Under. Very nice to have you here. Resisting the Lays, welcome, brother. Mannequin Skywalker, what about you? Pleased to have you aboard. And I think that's Anglo-Saxon, welcome, brother. Steve Cray, Supermod, welcome here. Rory Herbert, glad to have you aboard. Always good to have you here. Right. Where am I going to start with? Yes. As some of you may have noticed, there sort of was a bit of a hiccup with the time for this, and a lot of you turned up at like 6:30 this evening. 6:30 this evening. 1 second, just getting a bit of liquid in the mic. What happened was I went down and set up the stream, and what I was supposed to do was manually set the time for when it was going to go live, and I forgot to do that, and StreamYards had plucked for 6:30. So then I had to come into the chat and say, right, lads, sorry, people, sorry, got the time wrong. And now we're back here at 11:30 at the correct time. And the other thing, Emma G and I were at the gym this afternoon, and we're on our way back, and we got a phone call from Ragnar Orange Bar. I was like, why is Regs phoning me? And then I checked my messages, says, dude, you're supposed to be live now. I was like, oh, right. Not good. Yes, I done fucked up with the time. it was all a bit mad. Today has been a little bit strange, but there you go. 1 second, just getting a little drink. Right, that's better. Let's see, bit of housekeeping. Big welcome to anybody who has come over here from Bonnie Lad News / Amigo News earlier. Another cracking stream. Welcome if you're here from that. If you weren't watching, if you don't normally watch that stream, if you like this stuff, I would say you'll probably like that stuff, and that's an idea for you for earlier on a Saturday evening. Tomorrow, Ragnar Orange Beer. oh. The Chinese whispers. Steve Cray phoned Regs phoned me, and I went, oh fuck. Excellent work, and thanks very much, guys. Always got my back. That's good to know. Yep. So well, it wouldn't be me if things moved incredibly smoothly, but we're here now. We're going to give this a word. Yes, Ragnar Orange Beer tomorrow. Regs, let us know in the chat. Is it 6:30 or 7 this week? We get a proper time check, and following on from that, probably Scott's Armor. Hopefully Scott's Armor. Resisting the Lies, did I say hello to you, bud? I think it did. I'm not just 100% sure. Ragnar's got the link in. All good. Yes, so tomorrow night, Ragnar Orange Beer and Scott's Armor. On Tuesday evening, Sansom's sensibilities with Sense and Communion. Last week's show was really good. He had a teacher on talking about homeschooling and the school curriculum and what they reckoned were the most important things. Right. Resisting the lies. I have a pretty decent grasp of Highland, but I think that means that you're not on. Oh, and Rex is going to confirm time with the Woodlander for tomorrow evening. Yes, so Tuesday evening, Sansom sensibilities with Sansom Communion. I think he's got no chance on, and they're going to talk about how the current family model's doing. That will be interesting. Following on from that, John Davison goes live at 9, and he's on Tuesday, Thursday, and I believe Friday as well. Evening streams. They're good shows. Last week's was very good because I was on. I was on Tuesday with John, and we're going to organise getting them over on this channel for a conversation. I'm not sure exactly when that's going to pan out, but it is. And the other, I've done a lot of marauding about this week. I was on a show called PA Talk on Wednesday night. That goes on Wednesday night at 9. That was actually that was actually a very good show. Great conversation, good bunch of people. So there's another one that you might want to have a think about. If for those of you that are like me and don't really watch TV and get all of my entertainment sourced directly from the tubes of you. So that's pretty much the housekeeping sorted out, and all of our it's available and catch up. It was a good show. There will be no time left for Dangerfield. Oh yes, that's the other bit of news. Chris Dangerfield is off his hiatus for posting a video of people getting run over in mopeds. He probably would have been all right, apart from whenever he went to do the quick edit directly after the stream, he removed everything in the stream except the people getting run over on mopeds after trying to rob people. So he copped a ban for that one. He was off for a week, but he's now back and about. So keep your eyes open for those. Pretty much everybody here's pure blood scrub. So there you go. That's pretty much everything up to date. That's a good thing. Yesterday, when the hunter saying yesterday morning, there was like 5 different live streams she wanted to watch. It's just a matter of then you've got to prioritize which one you're going to actually watch live and what one you're going to watch on catch up. But I think we have a problem in that YouTube keep on taking down channels, and this model we've got now, where we've got a whole bunch of smaller channels putting stuff out, and most of them like this one. Although I am really, really pleased with my 230 odd subs, I'm under no illusion, and that makes it easier for me to fly under the radar. And again, also, I'm delighted with the numbers I'm putting in here. I average 15 to 25 people for the whole stream, and I'm delighted for every one of you that are giving up your time to come and listen to me. But it's also good that we've got a lot of content out there for people like yourselves that really can't watch mainstream entertainment anymore because it just makes us angry due to the fact that it's all woke. Steve Cray does have a point there, though. It is difficult when you mod all of them. That is hard. And another thing, big shout out to Steve Cray and Ragnar Ironspear. The amount of work that they put in turning up and modding is absolutely phenomenal. Resisting the lies. I'm the best live streamer. You just never know when nor what it will be on. The mystery is what makes me supreme. That is one way to go. And I'll say one thing: your streams and all your content is very well sourced and interesting. So there is that. Oh, the Skywalker's got a cat problem. Right. I think that's pretty much everything up to date. This is very true, Linda. The way the Scrubs have supported each other and come along and encourage each other to put out content, and also it's like having a pub crawl every night, minus the actual beer. But it is good. You turn up and you recognize the people in the chat, and you get people that you can talk to and relate to. I think it's fucking awesome. So there is that. But with no further ado, because we're now like almost 13 minutes in. I'm going to begin with our content for this evening, which is Victory in Japan Day. Britain's the Pacific Campaign is pretty much Britain's forgotten war. We don't tend Victory in Europe gets all the glory, and the European theatre gets most of the films and most of the accolades. The Pacific campaign was extremely brutal, and I wanted to take this time to talk about that. On August 14th, 1945, it was announced that Japan had surrendered unconditionally to the Allies, effectively ending World War II. Since then, both August 14th and August 15th have been known as Victory over Japan Day, or simply VJ Day. The term has also been used for September the 2nd. In 1945, September the 2nd, 1945, Japan's formal surrender took place on board the USS Missouri, anchored in Tokyo Bay. So, so that's why we're doing it now, because I tend to do, I go every Saturday and I look for things that are close, and in that week were pretty close. The other thing I would mention is that whenever I started doing this, I did worry about having something, a British culture tradition or something of historical importance to cover every week, and It turns out that it's been no problem whatsoever. Uh, for, I'm also finding out a lot of new customs and traditions I've never heard about before. And that's quite interesting. But anybody that ever tries to say that the British people don't have a culture need to have a look at all the subjects that we have covered. I want to get a quick look in the comments here because little boy and fat man. Yep, two nuclear bombs. Yes, I'm going to talk a bit about that coming up to the end. So I'm going to get the first bit of content up. An overview of the that theatre of war, and here it comes now. Share screen. Here we go. And this is from the Imperial War Museum, which is quite a good resource. It hasn't really become woke, but with it being run pretty much by the military, it's got the correct facts and figures. You can go with this. And did I actually? Yep, this is the one I wanted. Just check the comments. Right, here we go. This is an overview of the war. In 1941, Britain was an imperial power with colonies across South and Southeast Asia. In December 1941, Japan attacked British territories in Hong Kong, Malaya, now Malaysia, Singapore, and Burma, now known as Myanmar. These objects and photographs and artwork from the Imperial War Museum's collections tell a story of Britain's bitter and brutal war against Japan. Japanese forces invaded Malaya on 8th of December 1941. Their commander, General Yashitsa, launched an aggressive offensive that quickly demoralised and defeated Malaya's garrison of British, Indian, and Australian troops. This photograph, taken in January 1942, Japanese troops are seen clearing pockets of resistance in the streets of Kuala Lumpur after occupying that city. Surrender Singapore. By February 1942, Japanese forces had occupied Malaya. They then launched a new attack against the strategic island of Singapore at the southern tip of Malaya, of the Malay Peninsula. On 15th of February 1942, British forces in Singapore surrendered to the Japanese. The flag was carried by Brigadier Thomas Nuremberg as he walked with the officers as part of the surrender party. Prime Minister Winston Churchill would later call the surrender the worst disaster in British history. The flight from Burma. Japan's invasion of Burma prompted many of Burma's Indian, Anglo-Indian, and British communities to flee to the safety of India. While some, particularly the wealthier people, were able to leave by air or sea, hundreds of thousands were forced to make their way on foot across Burma's mountainous border with India. Thousands died along the way from disease, exhaustion, malnutrition, or through drowning while trying to cross Burma's many rivers. This photograph shows Indian refugees on the Pome Road from Rangoon in January 1942. By June 1942, the Japanese had driven British, Indian, and Chinese forces out of Burma. In February 1943, 3,000 British and Nepalese Gurkha troops mounted a long distance raid behind the Japanese lines. These troops were known as the Chindits and were commanded by the deeply erratic Brigadier Ord Wingate. This bloodshed, this is the photograph we're talking about here. This is a bloodshed carried by the Chindits in case they became separated from their unit and needed assistance from local people. It was made of ragone and carries a printed message in 17 languages, including Burmese, Karen. I didn't know Karen was a language. East and West Shin, Thai, Chinese, Tamil, Vietnamese, Bengali, French, and English. This message identifies the bearer as an allied soldier and encourages locals to offer help. These guys went a very long fucking distance from their base and lived off the land and fought a pretty good campaign. The Death Railway. After the surrender of Singapore, thousands of Allied servicemen became prisoners to the Japanese. They were subjected to a brutal regime of violence, callous neglect, and forced labour. From 1942, prisoners were forced to build the Burma-Thai Railway, which became known as the Death Railway for its high mortality rate among both prisoners and civilians and forced labourers. This golden nail was used during the Japanese ceremony to mark the completion of the railway. The inscription carries the date 25th of October in Shah 18, 1943, the 18th year of reign of the Emperor Shah, known as Hirohito. This would be the railway that you would see being built in the film Bridge over the River Kwai. The menace of tropical diseases. British troops fighting the Japanese were threatened by deadly and unfamiliar tropical diseases. In 1943, for every soldier evacuated due to battle wounds, 120 soldiers were evacuated due to sickness. Malaria was a key problem, but other diseases including dysentery, skin conditions, and typhus. This was a 1943 poster by graphic artist Ashton, was designed for use by the Royal Air Force in Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. It warns airmen against trusting unofficial remedies for protection against malaria. Beer will not guard against malaria. I think there's always good excuse for beer. Fighting the elements. The British troops in Burma had to contend with unfamiliar weather conditions. These could include high temperatures and high humidity, as well as monsoon winds and thunderstorms. In 1945, printed by the British war artist Leslie Cole, titled Burma, the 14th Army, Battle of Sitting Bend, gives a vivid impression of the impact of the monsoon weather. A patrol of British soldiers from the Queen's Own Royal West Kent Regiment wade through a flooded paddy field looking for the enemy. Overhead, the sky is black with rain clouds. That is actually quite a vivid picture. India invaded. In the spring of 1944, Japan launched an invasion of India. It aimed to capture Impal, a garrison town in the Indian border province of Manipur, and so prevent the British return to Burma. In order to isolate Impal from the large supply base at Dupar, Japanese troops attacked the small village of Kimona, which became a scene of ferocious fighting. This brass hunting horn belonged to Captain John Smith of the 1st Battalion Queen's Royal Regiment of West Surrey. During the Battle of Kalma, Smith used his horn to rally his troops. Smith was killed in action on 7th May 1944, aged 22. As he has no known grave. Smith is commemorated on the Rangoon Memorial. 14th Army, Sim Sword. In 1943, the 14th Army was formed in India under the commander of Lieutenant General Bill Sim. The Army's task was to retake Burma from the Japanese. Sim's generalship combat effective defensive tactics with imaginative and daring offensive. He was immensely popular with the Indian Gurkha and British troops under his command. The badge of the 14th Army was designed by General Sim. He planned to invade Burma from the north, so the sword points downward, and the crossguard of the sword forms an S standing for Sim. There you go, the sword and the wee snake-like S. The Empire Strikes Back. The war in Burma drew troops from across the British Empire. These are two examples of unit insignia. The first is the insignia of the 18th West African Division. It depicts a spider Anvas, a character from West African mythology. The division recruited from British colonies, including Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Gambia. They fought mostly in the coastal Akan region of southern Burma during 1944 and 45. The second, INS 7395, is the Black Cat of the 17th Indian Division, made up of troops from the Indian Northwest frontier of Punjab, as well as the Gurkhas from Nepal and British soldiers from Northern England. The division fought through the Burma campaign from 1942 to 45. I just want to check the chat. Yes, good call, Steve. Do not forget to hit the like. Bass, welcome aboard, chum. Very nice to have you here. Oh, nice one. My dad had tropical boils that left scars on him. He told us he got them from arrows when fighting the Indians in America. Sansom, welcome aboard, chum. Glad to have you here. Yes. I think the quinine's actually in the. Is it in the gin or is it in the tonic water? It's in one of those two. Right. Here we go. Back to this. And get a little bit of liquid. Uh, confronting the defying men. While land forces were fighting the Japanese in Burma, the Royal Navy's British Pacific Fleet took part in naval operations in the Pacific Ocean. On 6th of April 1945, the British aircraft carrier HMS Illustrious was taking part in operations to support American landings on the Japanese island of Okinawa when a Japanese kamikaze, meaning divine wind, pilot attacked aiming to ram his aircraft into the ship. Hit by anti-aircraft fire, the aircraft missed the Illustrious, crashed into the sea, and exploded a few meters from the ship. Among the wreckage found on the aircraft carrier's flight deck was this rubber dinghy. Why are they bringing a rubber dinghy on a kamikaze mission? That's a strange one. Yes, while we have mention of the island of Okinawa, I meant to say earlier, how I intend to do tonight is I want to talk about the British part in the offensive and then go on to the American efforts. And Rory, if you're still in the chat, would you pop me a message in and let me know if you want to come on later whenever we get on to the American stuff, because uh, you have got quite a bit, quite an interesting story there. Hold on. I need to check the chat. The only actual war story he ever told was that after the surrender, they sailed around the islands. One second. Roy, I'll get that emailed over to you. Uh, the only actual war story he told us was after surrender, they sailed around the islands and we disembarked the brass band and marched up and down the beach playing music, saying the war is over. I'm going to, I'm going to, at the moment I'm guessing that is when the Hunter's dad, but uh, Linda's saying sometimes they might surrender, sometimes they attack kamikaze style or just hide. They wouldn't believe Japan surrendered. Linda, I'm going to throw this open to you as well. I'm presuming you're getting these stories from uh, firsthand, uh, from possibly your father. Could you clarify that? Like I said to Roy, because he's got a bit of a family connection going on with this conflict. If that's the case and you want to come on to talk about that at some stage, just let me know. And let me, uh, if you want to come on to talk about that, just type yes, bring me on, and I'll get you on at some stage. Uh, I do like personal stories and whatnot. Right, Hiroshima. From the summer of 1944, American heavy bomber aircraft based on captured Pacific Islands have been able to strike Japanese cities. By the summer of 1945, these raids had destroyed large areas of Japan's major cities and caused enormous casualties. On the 6th of August 1945, the Japanese city of Hiroshima was hit by an atomic bomb known as Little Boy. The bomb's blast, fire, and radiation effects would ultimately kill more than 100,000 people. This glass bottle was found in Hiroshima. It has been deformed by the effects of the bomb blast. The surrender. In the days following the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and later of Nagasaki, the Japanese government debated whether to surrender. American aircraft could destroy Japanese cities at will. The Soviet Union had invaded Japanese occupied Manchuria, and the Japanese home islands were also threatened with invasion. On the 15th of August, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender. On 2nd of September 1945, a surrender document was signed aboard the American battleship moored on Tokyo Bay. A series of further surrender ceremonies followed in areas still occupied by the Japanese. This pen was used by Lord Louis Mountbatten, Supreme Allied Commander, Southeast Asia, to countersign the Japanese surrender at Singapore on the 12th of September. However, the fighting did not stop. This is an drawing titled Indian Troops Attacking Positions in Subway Java 1945 by the Australian war artist Tony Riff. It shows Indian troops in action in Salisbury on the island of Java, Indonesia in December 1945. Though the war between Japan and the Allies ended in August 1945, other conflicts in Asia and the Pacific continued. Days after Japan's surrender, Indonesian nationalists declared independence from the Netherlands. In September, British troops arrived in Java to take surrender of Japanese forces and recover prisoners of war and internees. Relations between the British and Indonesian forces soon broke down and a major battle erupted in Sabah. So that's pretty much as soon as the war was over, uh, we began to have infighting and stuff. I'm going to take this away and go back to the chat. Actually, sorry, not today. Had major dental work last Thursday and a bit less being shy. Right. Well, first off, I hope you recover. You will, obviously, but uh, fully understand, and we'll get you on another time. Ragnar is saying his daughter's mother, my daughter's mother, her father was Navy Japanese and prisoner of war for 3 years. Shit, that must have been hell. I might get. I might get you on, Rags. We'll see how that's all pans out. Also want to see how we're going time wise. So that was a brief overview of the the conflict itself. There's a couple of other things that are pretty important that I want to that I want to get onto. Mainly the how the Japanese treated their prisoners of war, because what happened, well, the way all that went down was simply just not right. And we might actually, I'm going to do this bit and then possibly bring Regs on for a quick bit. Oh, and yes, sorry, I'm a lot of things going on here. 1 second, talk amongst yourselves. I've just got to send Rory this link. Doing that now. Right. Here we go. Rory, that should be in your email inbox now, in your email. Yep. As someone was writing note, Japan's doing all right today until China finally takes revenge. Right now, we are basically allies, or would be if our government weren't cut to the CCP. It's pretty much how it went down. That is pretty much how it went down. Prisoners of war. Get this up. Here we go. Right, StreamYard. Share screen. Share screen. Here we go. Oh, I forgot to zoom that in. Zoom in. Zoom in. Right. This is coming from the right. During World War II, the Japanese armed forces captured nearly 140,000 Allied personnel from Australia, Canada, Great Britain, India, Netherlands, New Zealand, and the United States. In the south, in the Southeast Asia Pacific areas, they were forced to engage in hard labour, construction of railway roads, airfields, etc., to be used by the Japanese armed forces in occupied areas. About 36,000 were transported to the Japanese mainland to supplement the shortage of the workforce and compelled to work in coal mines, shipyards, munitions factories, etc. By the time the war was over, a total of more than 30,000 POWs had died of starvation, diseases, mistreatment, both within and outside the Japanese mainland. 56,000, over 56,000 of those held by the Empire of Japan were recorded in the War Department's records, now held at Kaw under the British prisoners of war held in Japan or Japanese occupied territories. There's a guide to that there, and I want to zoom out of that. That was just to give you an idea of the numbers involved. And yes, this is from the War Forces records. That's all I really wanted out of that, to give an overview of how many it was. Sam, nice to have you here. I'm not sure if I said hello, so I'm just doing it now, on the fly, sort of it is. But glad to have you here. Glad to see you back again. Right, and for a more ex- for a more extensive thing about the POWs, we're going to Chrome tab. Helps if you actually click that in. Right, I'm going to accept these cookies. There we got a picture of guys working on a railway. And we'll get rid of these advertisements. Britain's war in the Far East is often forgotten in popular discourse surrounding World War II. The British Empire held colonies in Singapore, Hong Kong, Burma, Malaya. So Japan's program of imperial expansion affected Britain as much as other nations in the region. In December 1941, as they did so, Japan captured 200,000 British soldiers, taking them prisoner. Fearing surrender as a fate virtually worse than death, the Imperial Japanese Army kept prisoners of war in dire conditions for many years, forcing them to complete cruel construction projects, and thousands died. But this aspect of Britain's war effort is scarcely remembered in many wartime commemorations. Here is an overview of what life was like for POWs in East Asia. Well, I'll tell you what I do know. There was members of the Somme Society that meet literally at the corner of my street. Put a reef at the bridge of the river, at the bridge of the River Kwai. Went over and visited that and left a reef there. So It's not as forgotten as people might make out. Imperial Japan viewed surrender as deeply dishonorable. As such, those who did surrender were seen as undeserving of respect and were treated on occasion as virtually subhuman. Having never ratified the 1929 Geneva Convention on Prisoners of War, Japan refused to treat POWs in accordance with international agreements or understandings. Actually, outside of international law would be a better way to describe that. Instead, prisoners were subject to grim programs of forced labour, medical experimentation, virtually unimaginable violence and starvation rations. Mortality rates of Allied POWs in Japanese camps were 27.7 times that of those held in POW camps by the Germans and Italians. At the end of the war, Tokyo ordered all remaining POWs to be killed. Fortunately, this was never carried out. Once Japan had captured British territories and soldiers, they began the process of transporting their prisoners by sea to Japanese strongholds. Prisoners were transported on what became known as hell ships, crammed into cargo holds like cattle, where many suffered from starvation, malnutrition, asphyxiation, and disease. Asphyxiation is basically suffocation in a fancy word. One second. Sorry about that, people. I needed to do a bit of a cough. Just give us a second. Yep. Dysentery was very, very bad. Right. Here we go. Because the ships also carried Japanese troops and cargo, they were legally allowed to be targeted and bombed by Allied forces. Well, part of the problem is the Japanese weren't technically legally allowed to carry prisoners on vessels of war. Multiple hell ships were sunk by Allied torpedoes. Overcrowding and a complete lack of care for prisoners meant that the death rates of sunk ships were particularly high. The sinking of hell ships resulted in the deaths of over 20,000 Allied POWs. Japanese POW camps were located across East and Southeast Asia, all in tropical climates to which many British soldiers were not acclimatized. Dirty water, meagre rations, a cup of boiled rice a day in some cases, and grueling schedules of hard labour, combined with a high likelihood of contracting dysentery or malaria, so men become reduced to virtual skeletons within a matter of months. Tropical ulcers, which could develop from a mere scratch, were also greatly feared. POWs who survived described a great sense of togetherness amongst men. They looked after each other. Those who had any medical knowledge were in demand, and those who were good with their hands fashioned artificial legs for men who had lost parts of their limbs to tropical ulcers and accidents or war. There was a lot of men had work-related injuries building that fucking railway and all the other stuff that they did. And whenever you have a look at these guys, that's fucking heartbreaking. Australian and Dutch prisoners of war at Tauso in Thailand, 1943. The four men are suffering from Bambari, a deficiency of B1. They're suffering from a deficiency of food. That's fucking disgusting. One of the most famous projects that POWs were forced to undertake was the building of the Slam Burma Railway. Considered by the British to be too difficult to build for decades, thanks to the arduous terrain, Imperial Japan decided it was a project worth pursuing, as overland access would mean there was no need to complete the hazardous 2,000-kilometer sea journey around the Malay Peninsula. Well, it's amazing how much things become possible whenever you don't give a fuck about the people that's going to have to actually do the work. Stretching over 250 miles through the dense jungle, the railway was completed ahead of schedule in October 1943. However, it was completed at a huge cost. Roughly half of all the civilian labourers and 20% of the Allied POWs who worked on the railway died in the process. Many suffered from malnutrition, exhaustion, and assortment of grim tropical diseases. In Chennai Prison in Singapore was one of the more infamous POW facilities run by the Japanese. Originally built by the British, it was grossly overcrowded, and Japanese officials tried to get those arriving in the already overrun facility to sign a pledge not to escape. All but 3 POWs refused. They believed it was their duty to try and escape. Furious at the display of insubordination, Japanese generals ordered all 17,000 prisoners to file into the Sirlong barracks every day. With virtually no running water, gross overcrowding, and a lack of sanitation, it was a hellish experience. After several days, dysentery was rife, and the weaker men began to die. Eventually, the prisoners realized they would have to sign. The Japanese would not back down, using false names. Many Japanese soldiers did not know the English alphabet. They signed a no escape document, but not before 4 prisoners were executed by the Japanese. Fiji Day, the surrender of Japan, took place several months after Fiji Day, the surrender of Germany. It took several more months for Allied prisoners of war to be released and returned back home. By the time they arrived back, celebrations for the end of the war had been long forgotten. It actually, that didn't just happen in Japan. It took quite a while for the soldiers from Europe to get back as well, in a lot of cases. And the festivities that were happening at home had been and gone. What was left was the rationing, which continued for quite a few years after the war. And it wasn't totally brilliant coming back. No one at home, not even those who fought on the Western Front, fully understood what those Far East had been through. Many struggled to talk about their experience to their families and friends. Many ex-POWs formed social clubs, such as the London Far East Prisoner of War Social Club, where they spoke about their experience and shared memories. Over 50% of POWs held in Far East joined the club in their lifetime, a remarkably high number compared to other veterans. Japanese officials were found guilty of numerous war crimes in the Tokyo War Crimes Tribunal and further war crimes trials across Southeast and East Asia. They were punished in accordance with their crimes, with some subject to execution or life imprisonment. So that is the fate of the prisoners. And what I'm going to do now is welcome in Rory, and we're going to move on to the US side of the conflict. 1 second. Don Browning, welcome. Glad to have you here. And hashtag, good to have you here. I believe it did say hello to you, Sansom. So there we go. that's all of that up to date. Going to add Rory into the stream. Ready? Come on, chump. Good evening, Rory. Oh, I've caught him on the wires. I think I've caught Rory on the wires.
Sorry, no, it's okay. Sorry, I muted myself. Silly me. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I've got you now, loud and clear.
Excellent, excellent. I just had asked you, it's good morning now, I believe.
Yes, it is. It is. We're in the morning. We're 25 past midnight.
We are. Anyway, yes, no, I remember you asked me, did I have any relatives in that particular conflict? And I thought, well, no, not really personally on my side of the family, but I did have a priest who is my father-in-law's second cousin, and
Yes,
he served in Guadalcanal, which and Tarawa as well, and his name was Francis Kelly, Father Francis Kelly, and he became known as Father Foxhole because he spent so much time. Well, he went ashore with the Marines in both those conflicts and spent so much time with the Marines in their foxholes, either looking after the dead and burying the dead, or administering last rites, or just giving them, spiritual confidence. I thought it might be worth talking about him.
it,
I've got a couple of photos of him. I see you put one up there. Can I share another one?
yep.
Let's have a quick look. Hold on a second.
Is it one of the ones that you sent me?
I, yeah, but I think I've almost got the hang of this.
All right.
Let me try. Whoops, share screen, share.
Yeah. It'll allow
Window,
you to
share
share
this.
a window or a tab or whatever.
That one, yeah, the other one, that would be good. Yeah, no, I'm having a little problem
Right.
doing that.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Well, hold on. Let me check. There we go. Did that work?
Yes. There we go. Nah. It's
That's
very
it's not a very good one of him.
right. Nah. Hold on. See, whenever you put that up, do you have a plus minus button for enlarging it?
Can't see it. Sorry
Right.
about my
Right. No, that's okay.
my
Right.
boomer tech.
Hold on. You're getting there. Right. If I take that one out and share this.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, maybe I just have
What?
to
No, hold on. Right. Where was I? Yes, share screen. Share screen.
leave this to you. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about that photo, to be honest.
Right. There's.
No, that's better. Yeah, so it's
Yep.
not. But that's just
Yep.
another photo of him. But
Yep.
no, what was interesting about that? Yeah, Father
Oh,
Kelly.
shenanigans.
He was mentioned in a book written in 1943 called Guadalcanal Diary, and that was by a Richard Tregansis. And I think I sent you the cover of that book. I don't know whether
Yes.
you could bring that one
Yes.
up. Just
Right. Yeah. Right. I'll take this picture out there and get the cover up.
I mean, it's only for a little while,
Yep.
and then maybe we could go on to the after that to the first page of the first chapter of the book.
Yep.
and I could read that out.
Yes. Share screen. Right. 1 second. I'll get this book cover up. Yep. There's the book cover.
That's the one. So yeah, this Richard Trugaskis, who wrote the book, he was a reporter, I think, for a company called International News or something, and he actually, as a reporter, went ashore with the Marines at
Mhm.
Guadalcanal and wrote this diary. And not only did he then publish a book from his diary, but it was also turned into a film of the same name, and they were both published in 1943, which was only a year after Guadalcanal, because that took place in August to February 1943. It was a long battle at Guadalcanal. We could talk about that later, perhaps.
Yep.
But if you go to if you could pull up that one of the first page, that's the one that mentions
Right.
my
Yep.
my
Right.
wife's
I'm going to
relative,
take that down. Take that down.
and I can read that out to you.
Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Downloads. The one on the first page. Right. 1 second. Window. Nah.
Yeah, so that's the one.
Uh-huh.
I'll read it from the hard
Yes.
copy.
Uh-huh.
And as I said, this is actually page 1 of chapter 1 of his book. And it reads Sunday, July the 26th, 1942. This morning, it being Sunday, there were services on the port promenade. Benches had been arranged on the deck, facing a canvas backdrop on which a Red Cross flag was pinned. Father Francis W. Kelly of Philadelphia, a genial, smiling fellow with a faculty for plain talk, gave the sermon. It was his second for the day. He had just finished the first shift, which was for Catholics. This one was for the Protestants. Now, I found that very interesting because you wouldn't expect that normally to happen, would you?
No, that was a very common thing in war. The uh, each regiment or whatever would have a chaplain, and they would be whatever religion they were, but they would cater to uh, both Christian faiths because it, it was just it was a matter of expediency as much as anything else.
Yes, I'm sure it probably was. No, it just
Yeah. But
when I first read that, I thought, well, that sounds a little bit odd, but no,
yeah,
never mind.
it's
I'm sure
it's
you're
something.
correct.
No, it's something that only happens in war.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
but it also goes to the compassion that these men have. And also, I'm going to say this, going ashore with the soldiers at Guadalcanal, that's not a duck walk. That's a dangerous place to be. And especially this guy having the name Foxhole. Uh, that, you know,
Well, I tend to agree. I mean, going into a battle armed only with a crucifix, is not something I would like to do personally.
no, a lot of people are credited with doing God's work, but going there with nothing but a crucifix to give comfort to men, uh, that is a brave and honourable thing to be doing.
Excellent. Well, I'll carry on because I don't want to
Yep.
take too much of your time. Yeah, it was pleasant to stand and sing on the rolling deck with the blue panel of the moving sea on our left to watch. There we could see two others of our fleet of transports rolling over the long swells, nosing into the white surf. The sermon dealt with duty and was obviously pointed toward our coming landing somewhere in Japanese-held territory. Father Kelly, who had been a preacher in a Pennsylvania mining town and had a direct, simple way of speaking, which was about right for the crowd of variously uniformed sailors and Marines standing before him, pounded home the point. So I thought that was quite interesting. If you want to go on a little bit more about that, I sent you a Word document. I don't know whether you could pull that up, 42, because it goes into a little bit more detail about him, if you're interested. Hello? Sorry, can you hear me? I think we've lost one another.
I muted my mic.
Ah, right, okay.
I was talking back to you. I was like, what's going on? I went back to the StreamYards and yeah, it was
No, I was just saying I did
right,
send you that little. There were two other things, I suppose. There's that Word document, and there
right,
was that video, which I thought
Fowler
you might.
Kelly doc.
Yes,
Yes, right. Uh,
I'll have to pull
right,
up that full screen as
yep,
well. Hold on, bear with me.
right,
Um, there we go. Um,
right. Let's see what way this opens. All right. Yes. Document has missing fonts. We will just have to deal with that. Right, 1 second. Get back to this. Here we go. Take that one out and share screen. Right, window. Is that the one? That is the one.
that's the one. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'll read. Well, I'm going to read it from
Yep.
my
You
full
read it,
screen.
and I will. I'm going to zoom this up a bit.
But it does tell you a little bit about the man, and I have to say, I tend to feel rather proud. I'll start. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
the two facts that stand about Captain Kelly is that he's considered the most decorated chaplain of World War II. And his story appears in the book and the movie Guadalcanal Diary. Although he was an ordained priest who was loved by the congregations of the various churches he led, he is best known for his military service. Captain Kelly was born in Pennsylvania in 1910 and later ordained in 1937. He served as assistant pastor of various churches before he enlisted in the Navy in February 1942. Well, that's interesting because that was pretty close after Pearl Harbor. He served the US Navy and Marines as a chaplain. As a Navy chaplain, he served in both World War II and the Korean War. In World War II, he shared foxholes with Marines on Guadalcanal and other islands in the Pacific. He participated in the landings at Guadalcanal and Tarawa and most of the major battles of the Solomon Islands. He earned the nickname Father Foxhole Kelly because he spent most of his time in the foxholes with the Marines. He was portrayed by actor Preston Foster in the film version of the book Guadalcanal Diary. He was discharged from the Navy in 1946, served 4 years as assistant of St. Robert's Roman Catholic Church in Chester, that would be Chester County, Pennsylvania. He also served a short duration at St. Helena's Church in Philadelphia. In 1950, he requested permission to re-enlist in the Navy during the Korean War. He served again as Navy chaplain from 1950 until his discharge in 1969. And then underneath that, there's a little comment about he was awarded the Legion of Merit for duty during the Battle of Tarawa, and it states, Chaplain Kelly, with great energy and devotion to duty, did much to aid and abet morale of the personnel of his unit prior to the actual landing. During the actual battle, and even before the beachhead was cleared of enemy activity, he had begun work on the first cemetery for Marine dead. For 3 days and nights, almost without rest and always at personal risk, he efficiently carried out the tedious task of clearing battlefields of our many dead. His actions were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Navy. Well, there we go. I mean, that says something about the man. And also, I think, overall, how important that was to the men serving.
Yes, it's very hard to understand how important what he was doing was, because like none of these places were nice. No battle's going to be a nice place, but Guadalcanal, uh, Iwo Jima, uh, those places, they were fighting people who did not surrender. Uh, Probably partially because they knew how they treated prisoners that they took, and did not want to
Well,
be treated like that themselves.
I could give you some statistics actually on Guadalcanal, which I looked up. I mean, it went on for nearly 6 months, from August 42 to February, but there were 1,600 US troops killed, over 4,000 wounded, and also a few thousand more just died of disease, of tropical diseases like malaria. But the Japanese, 24,000 dead.
Yeah,
It was a huge amount of people. I mean, yes, that was over 6 months, but even quickly, very quickly, Tarawa, which was only 7 days, 1,000 Marines killed, 2,000 wounded, 4,500 Japanese. So killed. So yeah, I mean they were pretty hefty statistics.
there was. Do you know when the last Japanese soldier surrendered?
I think you said during the 60s, was it?
Uh, Actually, I'll pull that story up while you're on. Uh,
Okay.
this sort of
I know
uh,
there were quite a few they found, weren't there, on various little islands, and they just never
yeah,
moved. God knows how they
yeah.
lived.
Uh, I'll pull up this story.
But then some of those islands were very remote.
Yep. Right. Unfortunately, this is from the Guardian, but it is how it is. It's your choice. What are you doing? Yes, I'm happy. Left this stupid thing. Zoom in. I'm going to zoom in again. Second World War intelligence officer stayed holed up in a Philippine jungle until he was coaxed out in 1974. Like these people were just not. They weren't there to surrender. Last Japanese soldier came out of hiding to surrender almost 30 years after the end of the Second World War. Hiro Onunda, an army intelligence officer, caused a sensation when he was persuaded to come out of hiding in the Philippine jungle in 1974. The native of Wakamama Prefecture in Western Japan died of heart failure in Tokyo Hospital. His family said he was 91. Okawama's 3 decades spent in the jungle, initially with three comrades and finally alone, came to be seen an example of the extraordinary lengths to which some Japanese soldiers would go to demonstrate their loyalty to the emperor in whose name they fought. Refusing to believe the war had ended with Japan's defeat in August 1945, Ona drew on his training in guerrilla warfare to kill as many as 30 people whom he mistakenly believed to be enemy soldiers. The world had known of his existence since 1950, when one of his fellow stragglers emerged and returned to Japan. A second member of the group reportedly died in 1950. Ona, whose sole remaining companion was killed in a shootout with Philippine troops in 72, held firm until 2 years later. He was only persuaded to surrender when his former commanding officer travelled to his hideout on the island of Lombok in the northwestern Philippines and convinced him that the war had ended. Until then, Anna would later explain he believed the attempts to persuade him to leave were a plot concocted by the pro-US government in Tokyo. By the time he surrendered, he had been on the island since 1944, 2 years after he was drafted into the Japanese Imperial Army. Orna wept uncontrollably as he agreed to lay down his perfectly serviceable rifle. He was later pardoned for killing by then Philippine. He was later pardoned for the killings by the then Philippine President Fedro Morris in a formal surrender to Marcos. Orna wore his 30-year-old Imperial Army uniform, cap, and sword, all of which were in good condition. He returned to Japan in March the same year, but after struggling to adapt to life in his homeland, he emigrated to Brazil in 1975, became a farmer. He returned to Japan in 1984 and opened nature camps for children across Japan. So, like, these are the type of men they were fighting against. They were not going to easily surrender, and they were going to take a lot of lives in the process. And to have people like the Foxhole Priest in there giving solace and comfort to those men, especially in the way he was doing it up there, up front and in the foxholes, is both brave and very moving.
There's that one video I sent you called Guadalcanal Diary 1943, a preview of the film.
Right,
I don't know whether you could bring that one up.
Right.
I mean,
I will
to be honest, it's not one I'm perfectly fond of because it goes on to, well, you'll see. Let's see what the chat makes of it if we can. It's only 2 minutes long.
Right. Of course, was that a link? Yes. Was that in the form of a? Was that in the form of
It
a
was
link?
it was in my email to you.
Yep. YouTube one. Yes.
That's the one.
Right. I'm grabbing that now. And
I have absolutely no idea how to put that on screen and play the audio with it, I'm afraid.
It's coming up now. Right, hold on. Get this in the theater mode. Right.
As I said, this was this was a preview or a trailer, I guess, of the 1943 film. But let's just put it this way: it's extremely Hollywood. I'll be kind, but it does have Father Kelly. But in the movie, for some reason, they call him Father Donnelly. God knows why that was. I could never figure that out.
It could be they've got a problem with using names of living people.
Well, that's what I was thinking. But then they used the name in the book, which the film was based on. So I think it's just Hollywood, to be honest.
Yeah. Donnelly. Maybe they want them to sound Irish American.
Yeah.
Is a possibility.
But anyway, I say it's Hollywood, but it kind of tells you what's happening.
Today, Sunday, July 26, 1942, is a peaceful, lazy day of rest here on our transport, somewhere in the South Pacific. And very pleasant it is, too, here in the beautiful white sunshine of the port deck, with the blue panel of the sea to watch, and a good song rising clear. We're Father Donnelly, Notre Dame, 1917. All-American fullback for 2 years, now simply Chaplain Donnelly, is working the second shift.
Say, Sammy, your voice is okay.
Why not? My father was a cantor in the synagogue.
Yeah?
That was a funny one.
Or here on the signal bridge, where Colonel Grayson and members of his staff are relaxing as contented and calm as if seated on their front porches of a Sunday morning back home.
What a way to travel to war.
I wish we had the funnies, so we could see if Mammy Yoakum ever got the termites out of the turnip patch.
However, the favorite occupation, as usual, is shooting the breeze, exchanging scuttlebutt.
Boy, I'd sure like to be back home right about now, sailing me a boat on Chesapeake Bay.
If I was back home, I wouldn't be on no boat.
If I was back in Laredo, I'd go and see my Conchita. Maybe Lolita.
Well, make up your mind.
All right, Conchita and Lolita.
Oh, that is so Hollywood.
Isn't it just?
Yeah. How many stereotypes can you squeeze into 2 minutes of film?
Exactly. I know. But anyway, it's relevant because, the father Donnelly in the film was, based on, say, my wife's second cousin, much removed. But I thought, good for a laugh, don't you think?
Yeah, and also it's really good to get personal stories involved in this. Whenever you're talking about war, it's very large and it's facts and figures and how many people and whatnot, and it takes the humanity out of it. Whereas if you can bring in personal stories, it helps you understand what exactly is going on. And at the end of the day, these numbers are actual people with families, with hopes, with dreams, and
Absolutely, yeah. Well, 42. I mean, that's you asked me a question, and I went, oh, actually, yeah, I can do something along those lines. So I hope it's been interesting.
It's been extremely interesting. Do you want to stay on for a bit, or do you want to split up? Totally up to you.
It depends.
Yep.
I mean, I know you have got other people who want to come on. I
well,
know people in the chat were talking about it. So yeah, I'll certainly make way for them. No problem.
yeah. I don't think with anybody else for coming on just at the minute. There's one thing I want to address from the chat. The ship in Jaws was the USS Indianapolis. It was carrying the first bomb from that was dropped on Hiroshima, and it got hit by torpedoes, and there wasn't distress signals sent out, and the sharks got pretty much everybody. Yeah, that was not good.
Yeah, fortunately, go quickly, go back to your question. Yeah, I can stay on. I'll mute myself. I mean, there were a couple of little topics that I kind of wanted to cover.
Right.
Particularly, after the war, after VJ Day, that how was it that we never had like a Tokyo war trial, like the Nuremberg war trial. We never prosecuted Emperor Hirohito for his role, or it seems many of the generals, all the people who ran those prisoner of war camps, starving our guys to death.
Oh, there was trials that just weren't as famous as they just didn't get the same level of coverage. But there was war trials, and there was some of the commanders of those camps were executed, and some were given very long prison services.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
Hirohito, nothing happened to him. In fact, I think, didn't Prince Charles go over his funeral or something?
Yes, the way that went down was they blamed it on their military commanders. They didn't. It was all. It was part of the. It was part of the surrender deal that the emperor would be left alone.
Okay.
And the military commanders would take the rap for everything. And as was seen with the guy that didn't surrender until 1974, a land invasion of Japan would have been like having to kill everybody, including the including the civilians. Would have been like having to kill all of them twice, because I don't think the Japanese people were in a mood for surrender either. So I think that is probably why the deal was cut. Right, we will we'll try we'll have the trials, we'll convict the military, and we'll leave the emperor alone. Although the also part of that deal was it would form a government that would be fair, elected by the people, and the emperor would continue as nothing more than a figurehead. Pretty similar to our queen.
Right. Okay. No, I just thought I'd mention that to you. That was all.
Yep. But that is. Did I? Hold on. One second. I think I had that in one of my links. 1 second. Right.
Yeah, you
Right.
carry on for you. I'll stay in the background for a bit.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna put up this link. Hold on. Just checking it. It's in this. I'm just checking for this. No, I've lost the link, but I definitely had. I think there definitely was trials. We'll come back to that at another time. What I was going to look at next was actually the American invasions, because that is, yep, that's where we're going next. Japanese onslaught and happen advance on the two fronts. No, it's not that one. Right. So it did have a bit of an overview about the right. Okinawa. Where did Guadalcanal go? Please. Right. 1 second. Right. StreamYards. Sure. Share screen. Chrome tab. I'm not gonna go through this wholesale. I'm going to give a couple of bits. 7th December 1941. Right. Japan staged the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, damaging the U.S. fleet. The Americans entered the war. Yes, the amphibious invasions in island hopping. In August 1942, the United States mounted its first major amphibious landings in World War II at Guadalcanal, using innovative landing craft built by Higgins Industries in New Orleans. By seizing a strategic airfield on the site on the island, the United States halted Japanese efforts to disrupt supply routes to Australia and New Zealand. The invasion ignited a ferocious struggle marked by several major naval battles, 3 major land battles, and almost continuous air combat as both sides sought to control Henderson's Field, named after Lloyd Henderson, an aviator killed in the Battle of Midway. For 6 long months, US forces fought to hold the island. In the end, they prevailed, and the Allies took the first vital step in driving the Japanese back in the Pacific theater. With Guadalcanal in American hands, Allied forces continued to close in Rabaul in New Britain. As forces under the command of Admiral William F. Bull Halsey moved north through the Solomons, General Douglas MacArthur's troops pushed west along the north coast of Papua New Guinea, grinding out a hard-fought victory by March 43. But rather than follow his success with risky invasion of heavily defended Rabaul, American military planners hatched their indigenous plan. Allied planes and ships would isolate and neutralize Rabaul from the air and sea, while the bulk of MacArthur's forces pushed westwards to invade less well-defended islands. This practice, skipping over heavily fortified islands in order to seize lightly defended locations that could support the next advance, became known as island hopping. As the Japanese strongholds were isolated, defenders were left to weaken from starvation disease. This new strategy turned the vast Pacific distances into an American ally, and the United States used it leapfrogging across the Pacific. Now, I'm thinking that the reason why they skipped was because of how hard they found it to actually take the islands. What do you think, Roy?
Well, yes. I mean, I think
Oh, shit.
that took 6 months.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of smaller islands around there, the Solomon Islands, they were called, weren't they?
Yeah.
But then you can't go on to places like Tarawa, and yeah, they learnt their lessons, I guess, and realised how to overcome them in a matter of days, if not weeks. But yeah, lessons of war, I suppose.
Yeah. The Japanese were dug in and determined, they weren't budging.
Well, no, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, mostly nearly died to a man.
Yeah. The one thing I haven't came across, and I'm going to end up going back to the Pacific conflict again at some stage, was how few Japanese prisoners were taken.
Very few. Yeah.
Yeah, very few.
But many committed suicide, didn't they?
Yeah, well, the way they actually fought the war was suicidal. They were just there were stories of there was a Japanese unit that were trapped in a mangrove swamp, and they were hemmed in there all day, and at night time they came face to face with the crocodiles that lived there, and they stayed there and fought the crocodiles rather than come out and surrender, and the crocodiles won.
Yeah, I mean, I can believe that. I mean, gosh, 42. It leads us on to another topic. I'm not sure whether you want to get into this one now, but it's relevant. Because yes, what if we had invaded Japan itself and hadn't dropped those 2 atomic bombs? Do you think the Japanese would have all fought to the death, in treating
Oh,
the civilians?
yeah,
I have a feeling they would.
yeah. Oh, the Japanese civilians were very much of the we're fighting every one of us, and it was only it took the emperor. The reason the reason why the second bomb had to be dropped was the emperor was trying to tell the yes Regs, do remember the USS Indianapolis, but I'm not playing the clip from Jaws because, to be totally honest with you, I I don't think that a film on a film about sharks is the correct way to be dealing with with these events. I'm sorry, I can't do that one. Uh, but where was it? Yes, the emperor was trying to convince the Japanese generals and the Japanese people to surrender, and they were having none of it. And there would have been a massive, massive loss of life on all sides had that went to a land invasion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in favour, as I think most people are, of dropping massive bombs on civilian populations during the time of war. I mean, Dresden obviously comes to mind, but with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there was the excuse was made that well, it would save more lives in the long run, be it American and indeed Japanese. Um, I'm not sure whether that's true, but I can just about go along with it, with a bit of hesitancy. I don't know about you, 42.
Right. Yeah. 1 second. Right. So I'm sorry if that came across as nasty. I really didn't mean it to be. It did actually happen, and it's interesting just to want to use the film Jaws to talk about it. We're all good, brother. Yep. I 100% believe that it would have been an absolute shit show. There would have been, uh, you know, even past the kamikaze. If you got onto the Japanese mainland, you'd have kamikaze people that weren't even soldiers, like civilians. Uh, I don't think it would have been. I, I don't like the nuclear bombs. I don't like what they did, but I think in that situation, it was the best thing to do. Apart from saving uh, British and allies soldiers' lives, it saved a hell of a lot of Japanese lives because civilians going up against regular army don't tend to do very well. You know, the Japanese civilians were prepared to fight them with swords. We've seen from other conflicts what happens whenever you send people with swords up against people with rifles. Doesn't work.
Well, no, not a good idea.
Mm. Mm. 1 second, I need to cough. Yeah, the actual nuclear bombs and what happened out of that, not good. But it's you've got a couple of options and none of them are good, and you choose the least bad. I think is where that comes down to. And I think that pretty much covers us with the Japanese conflict. We've got as far as the bombs and the surrender. And we're an hour and 40 minutes in. Uh, anything else sort of
No,
about?
no, no, no. I I treated myself to some new patio furniture on
Oh,
Thursday, and I had a friend round, and we had a few beers last night, enjoying it till the early hours of the morning. So yes, I'm getting a little tired.
yep.
42.
Well, healthily enjoy your new furniture.
Thank you.
Yes, and it's and as always, it's been absolutely lovely having you on. You're always a good guest and well informed.
Well, thank you indeed for having me on as well. So and yeah, add to the chat. Good comments of the ones I've read anyway. But yeah, so
Oh,
I'll say good night to you. Good night, 42.
good night, Rory. Again, thanks very much. And the chat have, as always, been uh, wonderful. Has that? Thanks, Rory. Yes, yes, everybody's lovely. No, we're missing a Billy Blogs. We've got a pack in. We are missing a Billy Blogs, which does reduce the amount of queries and questions. So that's pretty much us with victory in Japan Day. Actually, there is something else I want to have a quick look at. Uh, One second. Uh-huh. Yep. Oh, bollies. That's not what I wanted. Uh, Fiji Day history. No, I was going to try and get a couple of quick pictures of parties and stuff, but I seem to be striking out, and I'm not going to bother. Right, what I'm going to do is stick this in the chat. Right, there's a link in the chat if anybody wants to come on and have a quick chat, either Pacific Theatre related or whatever you want. All options are open. We can have a quick conversation, and I'm going to wind it down. I have no videos this week of strange sports or anything. On VJ Day, VE Day, and Remembrance Sunday. You can indeed resist the lies. You can come on for that and have a chat and whatever. It's all good. Yep. If I'm doing a show that is heavily war related, veteran related, and not be showing any strange sports or stuff like that, I'm quite happy to do have conversations after about anything. But that's fine. I'm just going to run through the chat here. Give me 2 seconds, not a problem. Or Slim. Evening, sir.
And how are we all?
I'm doing good. How's yourself?
I'm all right. And about some stuff.
Was that a dreaded echo?
I'll sort it out. Stuff. Some
Was
stuff
that a
going on.
dreaded echo?
Yeah, it's delayed there. Sorry about upsetting your apple cart.
No, it's okay. I think your YouTube's still on.
But that's what I'm saying. I was fixing that.
All right. Yes. But with you now. We've lost the echo.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, how's yourself, sir?
I am no complaining. Could complain. You want me to complain?
No, we did that last time. It went on for fucking ever. Right. With Exile Fagan coming in.
Can I say on a technology front, you know how I love a technology front stuff?
Yes.
I did send you links. You were talking to me about the moon missions and that.
Yes.
I sent you links. They're on a launch pad. They're testing the new moon rocket.
Oh, fuck. Where did you send it to?
NASA. They'll pay NASA. I didn't send them to NASA. I sent them to you on your last video, I think it was.
All right.
The Artemis rocket, the Yanks are sticking up there. They're trying, and they're going to orbit the moon and come back with an empty rocket.
Oh, here's an interesting one I just heard. Apparently, NASA are saying that quite a few years ago, they sent somebody outside the International Space Station on an untethered mission where they were maneuvering about with a jetpack thing.
They've got a kind of rocket backpack thing to sit in, aye.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
don't fancy that much. There's no fucking way. I don't mind telling you. Anyway, I'd be floating about space. I can't wee fizzy rockets keep me going. I don't want to go into.
Well, they're saying that quite a few years ago they sent somebody outside on that without any teller on them, and their backpack, it can move somebody pretty quick, like 72 meters per second. But that's space shuttle.
That's quite fast.
Yeah, that's space shuttle.
That's flat. You'll fly on a windscreen. That.
Yeah, that space shuttle is doing 7.5 kilometers per second.
Well, that moon rocket thing's going to be doing 17,000 odd mile an hour.
Yeah,
but as long as you don't run into it, it doesn't make a big difference. You know what I mean? You want to go run into something at that speed and say, "Sorry, mate, you insured."
Right. Yes, but here's the rubble of green. How the fuck does the person get back in if they're not tellered on yet and it's fucking disappearing off in the distance?
Not sure what you mean.
Right. You're outside a space shuttle.
Uh-huh.
Right. Hold on 1 second. Right. That is rags and packet in. Right. See, for the time being, nobody else apart from DJ, because we're getting a bit crowded here. But anyway, right. So you're outside the space station with a backpack that can do 70 meters per second.
Can do.
Yes, that's its top speed. Trying to catch up to a space station that is doing 7.5 kilometers per second.
Aye, but you both start off at 7.5 kilometers a second, right? So you're going along like that. Look, see that like driving next to another car, and he's not passing you at 17 billion miles. But he does that and he's moving away, but you're still moving relative to each other.
Yeah, the picture that they had, he was about fucking 3 miles behind.
Aye, mate, I don't know how far he was away, but I think see if you've worked your whole life and I'd be shitting myself, right? I'd be pure shitting myself. See, you stuck me in one of the suits and stuck me in a vacuum. I would be like, fuck all, I'd be petrified. I'm all wanker. They guys are fucking human.
Right.
Just Slim, do you not think they had a wormhole?
Fucking wormholes.
Apparently, wormholes in space are the biggest thing now. You know, we
Well,
can travel from galaxy to galaxy by fucking just bending space and time.
well,
Bollocks.
in Hollywood, aye, but not in reality.
No, I know what you
In
mean, but
reality, that doesn't happen.
Right. Good evening, Packer. How's yourself, sir?
I'm all right. Very drunk. Already made a tip myself by getting Linda and Dawn mixed up.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about that.
what have you done to Linda and Dawn?
Nothing evil. Just got them mixed up. I asked Linda how chickens was.
But that's so that Linda doesn't have chickens.
No, I'm a soppy git.
No, Dawn
I am
does.
drunk though.
Dawn has the chickens in the big white wolf thing.
I know.
It's all right, Packer. We've got confirmation. Linda saying they don't mind.
It's very kind of them. Thank you.
Yeah, and Steve Cray saying you are pissed though, Packer.
I am, yeah. Yeah. I am.
Where's Mrs. Packer the night?
Oh, she's in bed. She goes to bed about 9 o'clock. I am that much gin in.
Nice one.
Eh?
What?
Yep.
What is it?
Offer.
Can't see it. I need my glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, here. It's like a spice gin.
Right. Have you seen all them fucking new gins and noodles?
I like gin flavoured gin. I don't want your rhubarb and custard gin.
There's
I'm not
fucking
into it.
rhubarb and custard and fucking mint and fucking what else was there 42?
I
Press
thought
and celery.
Rhubarb and Custard was a cartoon.
It was diddle-a-doom, 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 diddle-a-doom.
Well, I've lowered the tone, haven't I?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, it was on. It was shocking. It was like a maths exam when I first rocked up.
It's here, Packer. As soon as the scrubs appear, we always lower the tone. You know.
I only came in so we had an Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman. I thought it was going to be funny.
Good to have a bit of comedy in it. And you know any good jokes? I know. One of my favourites is actually a racist joke. It's like a guy I worked with at Donald's.
Yeah.
The Asian pool attendant. His name was John Abandon.
Fortunately, that wasn't Scottish, and nobody can make it out in that way and still keep the channel.
Yeah, it's my channel. I don't mind.
So anyway, what is going to just ask everybody what they're interested in?
Right, I'll start. Poetry, rights of men and boys, mountain biking. I'm interested in going to the gym, but being interested in actually attending the gym regularly doesn't always line up. Me and Emma were the other day, so that's sort of pretty much me. Packer?
I'm interested in men's rights, which is the roundabout way I ended up meeting you lot, quite bizarrely, via Sargon. I like my Formula One. I like my job, to be fair. I love my job.
How would you do?
Here, Packer, did you go to any of the international conferences?
No, I don't go anywhere.
There was 2 in London. I went to one of them. They were actually quite good.
Yeah, I watched a lot of it online and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see my daughter since
disabled champion in 2019. So, and everything got shut down for the CUF then, the pandemic. And I didn't get to defend my title, and I should have been at the Paralympics this year, but I didn't get to go because of the CUF. So,
right, Slim, you're up. What's your hobbies?
Watches and motorbikes I'm interested in. But I've got hobbies out with that, which is basically engineering of all sorts.
Sorry, what was the second one?
Watches. I like watches.
Oh, watches. Right.
I'd love,
But
you know, I'd love to be able to buy expensive watches, but I look at them on YouTube, you know.
Yeah. Right. And with that, DJ Resisting the Legs, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you on. How are you, Sean?
DJ.
Well, like, I'm probably going against my own advice, still focusing on politics, like, so I'm not going to dampen your stream. I just wanted to kind of come on to, well, as I said before, the rest of the last joint, it's just something that it's really bugging me now. So just want to kind of showcase it, and then I might just clip it, post it on my channel. Like, I'm not going to, like, dampen your boys' nights, like, but I'm all right, like, yourself.
Yep. Doing okay. Me and Emma was at the gym today. I had a bit of a disaster. I started the stream fucking 4 hours early. I made a mistake and had to change the time so I could prep. But
I thought my boomer take was bad. Like, do
yeah.
you mind just sharing my screen for just like it's only for about 5 minutes, and then I'll as I say, I don't want to dampen your boys' nights with this depressing shit. But this stuff in Scotland, it's got to fucking stop. Like,
right, yes, your screen, Tom.
But DJ, are you getting help now, bud?
Well, I don't really want to talk about that on stream if it's all the same. But
but
no, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, here, DJ, see before you share, make sure your tabs are closed.
Oh yeah. No. I don't have anything open. I don't need. I just turned the laptop on through there.
Yeah.
But it's just I was reading something earlier on. I shouldn't have done it against my best interest. Like, so I'm getting really annoyed with this stuff. Like, can you just put the screen share up thing if that's
yep. Right, there it is.
Right. Okay. Right, I'm just doing this for anybody in the chat that is interested, but you might be, you might not be, right? But I have to. I've lost count of how many times I've done this now, but it's something's got to give at this point, right? So this program is being developed in. Well, this section is not a secret. This part here, this is government funded. All started on the back of the Black Lives Matter movement, of course, whatnot, right? One of the recommendations, I've got a COVID ethnicity expert group, etc. But the whole point of this is to, which I'll showcase in just a second, the whole point of this is to reform the Scottish education system. Now, in 2021, in Scotland, the SNP's manifesto spoke explicitly about anti-racist education. But what they did not tell you, of course, was that, and as I showcase again for the fucking 800th time on my Telegram, not that anybody in Scotland seems to care, this year, that the curriculum reform subgroup, as it's called, their intentions is they've got a vision for Scotland schools and early learning environment, which is nursery children, by the way, will promote and embed racial equity and anti-racism, but just to cut to the point, a critical race theory framework. It's critical race theory that's coming to our schools, and I was looking at stuff earlier on, and it's just infuriating me. The woman in question who is responsible for this program, this is another example here, the second paragraph down, she speaks explicitly about a phenomenon that she's created herself called white tears, which talks about our children. So I'm sorry, like, if you're in Scotland and you're not talking about this, then you're what? Well, because
DJ, what is the birth rate in Scotland for the native people?
It's very low, like, but just to finish off before I go, because I'm sorry, but if you come to the about page, this is the same woman in question, just to showcase what I'm talking about. Here's her down here. Oh, don't freeze me now. That would be nice. Like, the anti-racist educator is her old website. Just while my laptop spurred the fuck out. Standard procedure for me. Like, well, page unresponsive. There's her here, Melina. Right? Okay. So just to showcase, this is the same woman in question. from a wee bit further up. There's her here. I've posted a multitude of videos on this before. It's all my Telegram, like, for anybody that's interested. Please share this stuff out and look at the glossary. The glossary, like, it talks about race, racism, racist, privilege.
That's because they're all racist.
Yeah, but look at it, like white fragility, whiteness, white supremacy, critical race, like racial literacy, etc., etc. So the whole point is that they are targeting our children. The SNP are targeting our children, and I'll stop at that because I'm doing myself no favors talking about this stuff. Like, but something's got to give, all right. So you boys take it easy, okay? So if anybody's interested, check my Telegram, and that'll be me for the night. I appreciate you letting me on. What?
No, where did you? No, you're
Goodbye for dampening your night, but I has to get out there because I'm fucking sick at like.
No, you're right. But you don't have to run away, do you? Oh, I did.
Yeah, but he is correct.
Right.
This critical race theory and fucking this drag queen story time and stuff is to demasculate.
That's not even funny.
Demasculate the population. So you don't have any fighting men by the time they're 16, 17. You know.
I think, to be honest, this is all a lot of shite, and it's going to sweep over, and in maybe 20 years or something, it'll bounce back, and they'll all be headbutting each other in the face as a hobby instead. I can't see this lasting even a few. The bubble for this is just go to burst, and it's going to just disappear. It's too ridiculous. They've got them arguing amongst themselves.
42.
I saw you comment earlier, Ragnar, about the drag queens, and I wondered to myself how much of this is going on in central Birmingham or Leicester or Bradford.
No, it's only going on certain parts.
Yeah.
Well, you see, they're not going to do it where Alu Akbar's going to make an appearance, isn't they? No. Sure, they're not doing that. They wouldn't be stupid enough to do that.
This is directed at one demographic.
It really is,
all of it is.
To be that way.
When you speak on code on YouTube, we call them Alan's snack bar.
Yeah, but the thing about this, what DJ was talking about there, they're putting critical race theory, which is basically the notion that
anti-whiteism.
Yeah, it's the notion that all power is held by all white people and used for the betterment of white people and the detriment of black people.
Yeah, I'll just go and get mine now and show you it all, shall I?
Yeah. You know, but they're putting that in the fucking nursery schools. That is disgusting. You know, you're basically taking a bunch of kids that should be figuring out what their favorite color is and how to draw and stuff, and telling them to hate themselves. That is absolutely disgusting.
See, for a lot of this, but see the management of the schools, it's really them that kind of gatekeep that. I've got a wee boy that I told you, I've got a wee boy that goes to nursery, right? And some of the people in there, they look like that. But the woman that runs it, sort of thing, the manager, she's no keen on all that. She's annoying me. She's one of the straight thinking people, you know what I mean?
She's based.
Yeah, but what happens when you have the Scottish government tell her
I use that term.
What happens when you have the Scottish government tell her our school's getting shut down because they've put on a curriculum and she's refusing to teach it?
Well, see, to be honest, by the time it gets to that point, do you not think we should be doing something about the fucking government?
Well,
it always comes back to the same people. See, this is it. We talk amongst ourselves, and I get wound up because I talk to people about fighting amongst ourselves because some wee difference in shade of tone or whatever, right? So we're going to us fighting amongst ourselves because see if we all stood and says, wait a minute, we're all about 40 grand in debt. Me, I've got some money in the bank, but secretly behind the scenes, I've got to pay taxes because I'm paying off a debt somebody else has walked up, and it's now about £40,000 per person in this country, right? Go to look at it like in real terms. We are on debt to that amount of money before we start off. See, if we were all squabbling amongst ourselves, it suits them because nobody will be looking at it seriously and saying, "Oh, hey, how did this come to this?" We live in a country of millions of people, and they're spending billions of pounds. That's hundreds of millions. They're spending millions each sort of thing. Each generation of people's spending money we don't have. We spend money, and what we're doing is running up international debt to big corporations.
I watched a video today, and it was about Australia.
That's
Australia, one of the places in Australia have actually brought in a law, passed it today, that if the parents of a child that wants to transition refuse to let that child transition, they will be prosecuted for that.
I've seen that. Aye, that's shocking, is it not? Unless it's affirming, unless they're saying, "I go and get your tackle cut off."
There's Linda Hunt. Dawn Browning saying that they're saving money by growing their own food, and they've got their chickens that are giving them eggs. And
yeah,
if you have a space to do that, it's a very good way to go.
Yeah.
The way
until people are actually hungry and then they come in and nick your eggs and chickens. That's the reality. See, we spoke about thing making plans. No plan you can make can be undone by a mob in about 2 minutes. That's why you don't want it to come to a battle and come to fight. That's why I try to get through it, people. It has to be done in a civilized fashion. Because everybody suffers if you don't. Everybody. And yet again, the same people make a fucking fortune off it. Every time.
Personally, I think it's going to end in civil war.
Well, that's
people
why
are going
I
to
think we should be looking at rational means for damage limitation, if you like. Because, see, all the hatred that you're getting, especially for the left, and it is for the left, right? They're stirring up shit at every turn and hatred, calling everybody scum and all the rest of it. And I used to be kind of a part of them because I was a union leader and that, right? But see, in latter years, they've become, and I don't want to say left, right, up, down, back to front. They've become what would be traditionally called fascist. They're not dictating terms to you. They're not asking you. They might put on the parade a vote for you every 4 years, but no matter what you vote for or what, you're just not getting anything different. Because see, the people you vote in are actually the representatives of big industry, big pharma, banks, and all the rest of it. But a corporate world.
Raymond Piper's saying 2 people are talking about alternating accommodation and sharing this winter to make electric and gas go further.
Has everybody seen that clip of Trump telling the Germans they shouldn't rely on Russian gas? And the Germans laughing. They're not fucking laughing now, are they?
Oh, yeah.
Trump. The Germans are now being told to wash with a wet rag.
That's right. Aye. They've not used water or heating. They've not heated their houses.
Yeah, well, they're currently turning off unnecessary traffic lights in Germany. And I'm thinking if they put the traffic lights
that'd be all of them then.
Yeah. But if you're putting up traffic lights, I think they're probably needed. You have to have some form of control on your roads.
I lived in a town where they had 2 big roundabouts with 4 or 5 entrances to the roundabout, and both of them had traffic lights on. And whenever the traffic lights broke down, all the traffic flowed better.
Yeah, well, traffic lights and roundabouts shouldn't be the galleries of one or the other.
Yeah.
Places
in Europe, they turn off the traffic lights at 9 o'clock at night. Once the traffic dies down, they turn them off. People just, people in cars just behave. Obviously, you don't want to fucking drive out into a junction and get T-boned. Obviously.
Yeah.
But,
There's a couple of part-time traffic lights down close to where I live that only go on during peak time. Because the cars come, but the rest of the time, whenever you pull up that junction, there'd be a gap that you can get out into, without waiting. You maybe wait a minute or something, but whenever it gets very congested, they turn the traffic lights on.
Yeah. If the traffic lights are on, you're waiting a minute, aren't you?
Yeah.
Unless you're lucky.
Oh, what do you make of these heat pumps?
Shite.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, what a... Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, get a windmill and a solar panel while you're there.
Yeah. Well, I'm not an expert, but from what I'm reading,
they're going to force you to buy something that's very, very expensive. Might be efficient, but won't actually get you a big warm. See, even in the coldest days, you'll be like, and the warmest, you'll be like, oh no, that's really not warm enough.
Yeah, because
it's a fortune.
What apparently it does is it sucks in the outside air and extracts the heat from that. And I'm thinking, whenever it's cold outside, what heat are we extracting?
It's a device. It's what one side called the other, right? But it still requires electricity.
Yeah, and you end up with a massive, basically, fan on the outside of your house that's blowing out cold air. So if you live in a flat or you haven't got a yard, a big yard or a garden, you're knackered. It's the same as Lecky cars. If you live in a block of flats,
yeah,
or in a Victorian or an Edwardian street, where the fuck you can't park outside your house? Where the fuck are you plugging it in? Doesn't make any sense, does it? How many millions of people live in flats and Edwardian Victorian streets in Europe? Where the fuck are you plugging it in if you can't park outside your house?
Since you mentioned that, that's something that really gets in my tits, and I'm going to tell you why. They get you see the big Tesla charging cells in the car parks. It's a stand with a big metal cable attached to it. Have you seen them? No.
Yeah.
Well, they get that electricity for nothing. Nothing. It's subsidied at the moment. So see the same people that's get 70 or 80,000 pounds to get an electric car, they're not paying for the fuel for it. We are. You.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah.
You're paying for it. So they're a fucking rip off for you.
And where's that electricity coming from? Solar panels and windmills?
No, solar power.
Actually, they can claim it's about 40% because 40% of the electric energy is supplied by, but 90% is coal and gas for your actual power. In reality.
And 40% of wind, is it?
Right, I'll tell you, wind power. I can tell you how much I hate wind power, right? But I'll just say it's no practical, it's no economical, and it's no actually environmentally friendly in any way.
You've just got to go down the rabbit hole and see where it comes from. How do you build a windmill? Where'd you get the materials from? What do you use to get those materials? How do you make it? You know what I mean? It's like, well, first of all, you go and get a big fucking diesel-powered digger and you start digging. Oh, well, that's environmentally friendly, isn't it?
Well, since you're talking about it, I mentioned that I've got an interest in engineering. Here's how it actually works. See some poor person in Africa that is earning $1 a month. He is literally scratching in the dirt to get some of that. See some of the crystals and all that, the things that they use inside these things. They come from deepest, darkest Africa and the Congo. You get some poor wee paupery child scraping in the dirt for some black sand for weeks and end to get a wee horn for it. Before all that starts,
how do you know if a wind farm's being subsidised? The blades are turning around.
Well, they get subsidised where they're running up, no, because they just get bought.
Whenever
see if you've got one house and you can afford one of them, it's a great thing. See if you had like your wee farmhouse and one of them shoved on a hill, you think it was the best thing in the fucking world. You'd be like, check me, I've got a battery the size of a fucking garage, like, and I can run my house all the time. But see when you want to run a city and then put charging cars and all that in it, and then put charging cars in it and get rid of all and become green, and then get rid of 50% of our land to eco-wilding. Where the fuck am I going to put all the solar panels and windmills if a fifth of the country is going to be fucking rewilded and all that? I mean, where is that going to happen?
Whenever the subsidies go off on an area that has a wind farm, they shut the wind farm down until the subsidies come back on again because they can't make money on them.
Subsidies you're talking about. What you're talking about is money that you're giving them. There's no even.
Well, I'm not saying the subsidies.
Things, then we give them a backhander like that. You're a big man, you're a backhander because I'm not making enough of us.
No, I'm not saying the subsidies are a good thing. I'm saying that they can't make money on them, so the government give them money to keep the thing running.
I'm in agreement. That's why. And I said there isn't anything good about the windmills.
I never said there was.
No, I'm agreeing with you. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I reckon that's why Bill Gates is buying up all the farmland so he can put windmills and solar panels on it while we'd all eat fucking cockroaches.
Well, I'm going to tell you why he's buying up farmland. See, cash, fiat currency.
Yeah, but he's not going to farm it.
Through the tubes, he would lose more just on the cash. Any cash he's got disposable, and he's just making sure he's no cash in the bank, and he's got commodities. He's got land. He's got this. He's got factories. He's got farms. He's got fucking. He's ditching cash, and that's a really, at the end of times. No, you were talking about it's going to be a civil war now. It definitely is heading that way in America. And see, when you see these people all buying commodities and ditching everything, you see the price of gold and all that go up. That means rich people are pouring their money into something they can shove in a wheelbarrow and wheel away.
Yeah.
That's why the commodities markets. I check the price of these things, right? This is what I was saying about having an interest in current affairs. I'm not really interested in bickering with some guy next door who's actually poorer than I am, you know what I mean? That's how I always think of these things. We talk about a guys coming from Africa, and as I've said before, if you've seen that, I've done a stream before too. I think a lot of these people are just bad people. They shouldn't be here. And I'd be quick to nudge them back on a fucking boat with a rifle, right? Come on, back on the boat. Way back to France, where it was delight in France. You know what I mean? As for most of it, we're all just poor people. That's one of the things that gets me, right? See if we were in work, I hear things get said. I've unsubbed to a few channels because things get said, and I'm like, I really don't hold with the ideas. I don't want to listen to this, right? No, it's down to personal tastes, personal beliefs. I know people have what I would consider irrational views, but some people just, I think, have to look at the big picture. It's like I said about the wee African guy, right? Him in Africa is actually more responsible for what goes on in that windmill than all the electricians and all that are walking about it and the guys with the big trucks showing up. Because see without the minerals, the niobium, Colerex tantalum, the black salt is, right? You look at that one up. These metals are required for microcircuits. And the only supply of these things is some war-torn place in Africa where you've got a vein digging in a ditch.
Yeah.
So we need to sort these things out really. And see, rather than squabbling amongst themselves, I had a friend. He told me I had to pick sides or I was a coward. I really didn't want it. I didn't like it.
Whenever I speak to an environmentalist and I tell them the carbon they're trying to get rid of is you.
Well, I had once an occasion where somebody was actually lecturing me on the use of plastic straws. This was on the internet, by the way. It was the last time I was ever on Facebook. I thought how ridiculous this thing is. I go on it to check out some news and that, but I don't use it. I get this lecture about how the environment and some turtle got a plastic straw up its nose, which I've no doubt has happened. Things eat them, all the rest of it, right? Do you know, this particular person in question had flew all the way to New Zealand within about 3 months of talking to me. But she was there doing charity work. I was like, so we've got a mutual friend, and he was in the house and he was talking about this lady.
Did you not have found a charity closer to where she lived?
Well, It's a holiday these people are having. Remember, it's no charity. They want to claim charity. Well, that's what virtue signaling is. Virtue signaling is
It's
this
photos for
reality
face cloth,
where
isn't it?
you are going to New Zealand to work on a farm that looks after sick animals because it's in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Then you can claim you went all the way to New Zealand to do charity work instead of I went to New Zealand, blagged my way into this, and then told them I had no money when I got there, and then flew all the way back. No, we've got a mutual friend.
No one in the UK needs help. We're all sorted, aren't we? You know, there's
That's
no
what
there's
people
no
are
homeless
saying.
veterans or anything like that here. We're all good. The
That was
NHS
about
is running
1,000
fine.
gallons of fuel.
Yeah, but
Somebody
there's no,
mentioned me on the use of a plastic straw had personally burnt 1,000 gallons of fuel. Yes.
Well,
People are unbelievable.
the good thing is you can now buy paper straws in plastic packets. So everything's sorted. We're all good. But everything's fine. It's okay.
Some of them are a bit sticky on your mouth. Isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't buy anything that has a fucking straw. I don't go to wherever and buy coffee. I don't do that.
Oh, I love coffee, me.
Where are these paper or
I love
plastic straws
coffee.
being used? I don't go there.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of people going to cafes, restaurants, pubs, all the rest of it, even the seaside, they do like a plastic straw, some of them. And I don't see it as a big issue when you, even though they were plastic straws, I'm not sure it was a big problem.
do you ever notice that the mountains of plastic or the islands of plastic in the sea are always in places that you can't fucking get to?
I think you spend a lot of time clearing them up. No, the seas are, see if you've been anywhere out in a boat. I used to go fishing a lot, right? Some of our coastline is just littered with garbage. You wouldn't believe it. Just littered with it, blown up. I find I tell you, I think some of it falls off boats and all that, but I found a can of diesel with the diesel in it. A diesel can, you know, a big diesel can.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
2 gallon with it. And it was full of diesel. And I kept it. I'm still got it in my shed. That was washed up on the beach. Along
Where'd
with,
you live? I'll be round.
tell you, the diesel was red. I gave it to a mate of mine that didn't care, but I wasn't putting it in my car because I didn't have a pet. I never even had a diesel car at the time. I wanted the can. I was like, that's a good can. That cost a few quid, that can.
Yeah. Price of diesel now, though, you're probably a winner.
Well, this is how we've all been stung in it with a big con, and yet more debt piled on our fucking lifetime. My grandwains are going to be paying off fucking debts that they handed out. They handed out for people not to work for no reason.
Oh, it's going to be a very, very long time before the debt from COVID is paid off. A very
Well,
long time.
No, it's about 40. I think it's 48,000 or something.
Here we go. Ragnar's just said 1.9 million native British people sleeping on the streets, including 6,000 veterans. But your mates have got to go to New Zealand to do charity work. Makes me want to puke.
No,
I've got nothing against people in New Zealand, but for Christ's sakes, fucking,
no,
you know, as someone famous said, clean your
but
room and then sort out the rest of the world.
It's all the arseholes that show up at these conferences and their jet planes to talk about the environment. And then you're about a fucking fuel, one of them burns in a shop, aren't they? And they're flying off around the world. And then a week later they're doing a different one.
Don't bother with that. Like China and India, the UK's responsible for 1% of carbon in the atmosphere. 1%.
Yeah,
but China and India. Please get back to me when you convince China and India to do something about it.
0.1%. There is only about 0.1%, remember, or something like that, right?
No.
So we're responsible for 1% of the 0.1%.
Yeah, but if we the current levels of carbon dioxide are 0.03%, and if we reduce that anymore, plants are going to stop growing.
Bullshit.
Well, if you if
If
you're
it had
running,
got much less than we were 200 years ago, plants would have stopped growing. We would have died because carbon was too low.
Well, the carbon's still too low, apparently. It depends who you listen to. Some people tell you the sea level has already risen 100 feet. My house is on the water, right? There's that brigade. I'm not one of that brigade. I'd have to swim. I'd have
Go
to
and check
swim.
out.
Go
Go and check out Plymouth Rock. Apparently, it's still at sea level.
Yeah.
After 500 years, oddly enough.
A wee bit, but aye.
If you're running a commercial greenhouse, you're pumping carbon dioxide into it to get a better yield.
Yeah,
it's fucking nuts. And see, do you know what the largest supposed greenhouse gas is that is holding the heat in? Water vapor. Yeah, water vapor, which you and I know as clouds. You know it. And nobody's ever told me where the fuck this carbon dioxide that affects the temperature goes at night.
Yeah.
You cracked that joke before.
Yeah. You know, I'm pretty convinced that the temperature of this planet has got something to do with a big ball of fire in the sky.
Might have. But the shiny thing.
Yeah, yes, that shiny thing. Which is not in any of the climate alarmist models, by the way. They don't take into consideration the big ball of fire and the fact that we have daytime and nighttime.
No, it's been a lot of solar flares lately.
You see, the climate
Which they
models,
haven't told you about, which might have something to do with the hot spell.
Right. What time of day is it?
Climate modeling's crap. That's why they can't tell you what the weather's going to be like.
Right. It's coming up to 2 o'clock in the morning. We've been going for coming up to 2.5 hours. I'm going to start winding this down because I need to get myself sorted out and get some sleep. So, to you, Slim Packet, thanks very much for coming on. Last thoughts, anybody? While I find a bit of music to play us out.
I'll just say, thanks, 42. Nice to meet you, Slim.
You too, man. Always a pleasure.
Cheers, people. Oh, fuck off. Down my own end. I'll see you all later. Ta-da.
Bye, guys.
Right, I'm just looking up a little bit of music to play us out. Right. Here we go. Back to StreamYard. Roy, thanks very much. Here we go. Since we were doing Billy Blogs, you're totally late, you've missed it all. If you're watching this on catch up, you're not going to see the outro music because it's going to get clipped back out again due to doing about Fiji Day. I am signing out with a song by Stiff Little Fingers called "Is That What You Fought the War For?" All right, here we go.